Shalom, Israel. This is Brother Rajai coming at you again, led by the Spirit. I am actually really pulling together a lot or noticing a lot of things, that the Lord is guiding me, the Spirit, of Yahweh is guiding me to bring out. I was just kind of, scrolling through some of the videos, checking things out I came across. Although I've heard this, going on, before, I guess I'm, since I'm putting these videos out, I did want to do something, towards it. So this is just kind of what I'm led by the Spirit to bring out, hopefully in edification. So I want to say shalom to you, Israel, the 144,000 elect, the 1/3, the house of Jacob, all of you keeping the commandments and following the ways of the Lord, to your best ability. I say shalom to you and, to the nation of Israel. You so-called blacks, Hispanic, Mexicans, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians. So today's lesson is just, today, led by Scripture, is just basically bringing out kind of what I was led to. I didn't kind of have a title, but it's mainly about, bringing back, payment for God is judging and raising up certain events around the world, and with the technology and the way we can kind of access these things, a lot more speedily than before, we're able to see that, as it happens. So, this is basically, I want to bring out this scripture about how God is, waking us up and bringing these disasters and curses upon the land, upon the earth. And we're going to just jump right into it.
Controversial land reforms in South Africa are raising tensions as the nation's white minority arms themselves to defend their farms against government seizures. One America's Christian Rhodes has a story.
White South Africans are arming themselves to defend their properties in the wake of the land reform advanced by the black majority government of African National Congress, or ANC. This comes amidst a tidal wave of farm murders aimed against white landowners in the Rainbow Nation, and Afrikaners claim the government's inaction on violent crime and the planned expropriations fall in line with the ANC's far-left policies of white genocide.
When you leave home, you can feel the animosity. It's like if you walk down the street, you can feel it's like your skin color depicts who you are, not your soul.
This comes as the ANC is seeking to seize Afrikaner properties in both rural and urban areas. Most recently, ANC leaders, including South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa, reaffirmed their commitments to the land and property expropriations at a so-called land summit.
Salakia, I meant to stop that a little bit earlier. So you just heard right here, what's going on, and they had, Edomite on here, so-called white person who's living in South Africa, and these things going on, that these, the natives are taking back their land. Because as Esau, what he does is he goes into these lands. He has a history of going into lands, placed into democracy, stealing, killing, murdering, raping, stealing resources. And, people, these heathen nations, other heathen nations are getting fed up with it. And you can only do that, because for so long, because America, Babylon the Great is a bully. We all know this. We all know the history of so-called America, and the things that went on. Nothing to really be proud about. But you see it here, and kind of it's like the reverse now, that these things that they've been doing to people so long are happening to them. Now, for those of you who, might get emotional and things like that and say, oh, that's not right, people are, should deserve. Where were you people, or where was your justice at when this was going on in the 1600s, and 1700s, and 1800s? Nobody speaks out about the nation, Israel, those 12 tribes the atrocities that our nation has been through. Nobody speaks on those things, but when when the roles are reversed, there should be compassion, and God's just bringing judgment. God is bringing judgment, and He's bringing it quickly. And for people who feel that these people they work for the land or whatever, however, whatever happened, that's not their land. First of all, we know that. And if they don't like it, if they don't feel like they're not safe there, why are they there? Why are people going into other countries, establishing governments over a nation that's already there and have their own government? Esau, Babylon wants to say that we want to help build and construct a nation, to make it diplomatic or whatever that they claim they so claim to do with these other nations. But that's oppression. They're oppressing these people, and you got to listen to some of what's going on here, because they'll tell you that what's happening with these people, that this is their land and what's happening to them. So
in Boksburg, Gauteng, the upcoming reform is simple. If you are white in South Africa and you own land, a farm or a city home, the government will take it away with no compensation for the sake of greater social justice.
Without the redistribution of land, we will not be able to build a united South Africa. Without the recognition of the property rights of all our people, we will not overcome inequality.
Meantime, South Africa's streets are mired in violent clashes between the police and the country's black majority, who demand the land expropriation reform advance faster. Left-wing radicals claim European settlers stole their land hundreds of years ago, despite back in the 17th century South Africa was a sparsely populated desert, whilst the Rainbow Nation's black majority formed as a result of mass migration from tropical Africa in the late 19th century.
The main thing is the place is very populated. The families live in worse conditions, they sleep in the kitchens, and they sleep in the toilets.
The Afrikaner resist.
Now, you just heard this guy talking about the conditions of these the natives, in South Africa, right? They're saying that they're in their own land, sleeping on the kitchen and in the bathroom, underneath bathroom stalls, because of the oppression, the presence that's America that's in these other countries. How are people in their own country being oppressed, having to live in the poverty? And this just goes to show, which I'm going to bring out in scripture, that wherever Esau goes, he just brings folly, he brings destruction, he brings murder, right? There's no hope of, what they say they want to reform a country, or they want to, build it up. They bring their democracy in, but they're oppressing these countries. They're stealing their resources, and they're treating the natives like crap,
This movement says the ANC land reform would destroy the fundamental basis of South Africa's market economy, whilst also erasing the remnants of democracy in the once prosperous country. The ANC has claimed the lion's share of land in South Africa is owned by the white minority, but Afrikaner civil rights organization AfriForum has recently released new information on the matter. According to AfriForum, 24% of South African land is owned by the government, while an additional 34.5% of South African land is owned by black people. This renders the ANC's claims of 70 to 80% white land ownership invalid, and also disproves the claims the black majority is lacking agricultural lands, as up to 70%.
Also, Salakia, another point I wanted to bring out is that's not their inherited land. So-called white man. So the Esau, that's not his inherited land. He was given Mount Seir. That's basically the caves. That's basically, his inheritance as a people. So he comes out of his own inheritance, right? And comes over to these other countries, conquers them, steals their land. Well, now they do it differently. But they're still conquering the people. They're still, placing these, democracies and governments and control systems in these lands, so they can take the resources and steal it and populate the country with their culture and with their system, right? So they go into these other lands that's not their inheritance and say that they belong there. And I'm gonna show you something in the comments, a bunch of Edomites, and kind of what they're, how this nation really feels towards you. Now, even though this is a heathen nation, because Africans are not, Israelites, they're not part of the 12 tribes, but it tells you in the Bible that, even the heathen nations will get fed up with so-called America, with Esau and his tactics, and what he's been doing for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Percent of land claims currently filed with the government pertain to land in urban areas.
There are three main reasons or three main methods in which white people acquired land in South Africa. The first was that there were, in fact, empty pieces of land in South Africa, and this is not supposed to be a controversial fact. The second was negotiations and treaties, and this is also not supposed to be a controversial fact. And the third way, which is the most controversial, is the way the acquiring land by way of conquest. And that is something that has...
Well, we all know that Esau has never honored any of his treaties. When he came over to the Americas, he wrote 144 treaties with the Native Americans, and he broke all of them. So those treaties, they're putting on his front like, oh, we've done nothing wrong. They never hold themselves accountable for the wrong that they done. They do this. That's the history of Esau. They do this throughout the generations. They are a vagabond, which they go. They have no home. They go from country to country. They go from space to space with no home, nowhere where their true settlement is, right? And they take over these countries. They force themselves in. They illegitimately scheme away, right? These politics and all this other stuff, and saying that we did this illegally. When they make the laws, how is that legal? This is not their inheritance land. People have to wake up and see this.
Happened. It was also common practice among black tribes in South Africa at the time.
This partially explains the ANC's most recent efforts to include urban land in the expropriations bill. Meantime, international investors point out the ANC's land reform could undermine South Africa's fragile economy, as according to a land bank study, more than 90% of farms redistributed since the fall of apartheid in 1994 failed and turned into squatter camps or subsistence farms. Investors also say a political attack on property rights would deal a massive blow to South Africa's investment appeal.
Certainly the sector does not support the idea of wholesale land expropriation without compensation. I think the whole land reform process to date has failed. It's quite hard to push at exactly which piece of that has failed. We don't yet have a proper record of the overall ownership of land in our country, which is obviously the place that we have to start.
Rampant economic mismanagement and mass migration are challenging an ever-increasing number of people to leave their country or die fighting against the regimes of corruption, legal thievery, and political repression. This process, unfortunately, is becoming universal and has reached far beyond South Africa, including countries such as Sweden, France, and Russia.
Either we stay here or we immigrate. That's the only two options we are left with.
So you think your choices, are to leave the country or perhaps literally to stay and fight?
Yes.
And you see how they, these people are putting on these tiers. When I look at this and when I see this and thinking in my mind, right, I'm thinking of the 400 years, the 500 years, their history of what they've done to other countries and other nations. And they never had compassion, and it's never, been a compassion bone in their body to treat people how they wanted to be treated, right? But now the roles are reversing, and now there should be compassion. Now they are experiencing what they've been doing for over 400 years. And, they want some justice done. But why not starting with the injustice that you have been doing for 400 years, right? Your history. Why not start there? And it's really something else that how they try to portray things, how they put their information out, because they want to be, they want to rule the world, they want to rule all the countries, they want to own all the nuclear weapons, they want no country to have any type of weapons. They want to be the dictator and the controller of the whole earth, so they can wipe off people, genocide people, and run it the way they like, and have that wickedness going on throughout the nation, so that the earth and the world can mourn from the oppression and from the unrighteousness that these Edomites are doing, that Esau and his nation of people are doing. These elites,
Kill or be killed.
Yes.
The looming escalation of violence in South Africa is bringing the Rainbow Nation closer to a full-scale civil war over the nation's economic demise of the past 20 years, which has been racialized and politicized by the far-left ANC leadership. This, however, doesn't mean the farm murders and attempts to dispossess Afrikaners of their property will remain unanswered, as the number of Afrikaner commando training camps is growing exponentially in the face of the ANC tyranny.
You can't leave this place. Really? Sorry.
Christian Rose on American News.
So yeah, basically what's going on is prophecy in the Bible, where these nations are, these heathen nations are getting, fed up with America's crap, and they're not taking it no more, right? And there's going to be race wars, and this is just showing you on a small scale it's happening over here, that they're not really broadcasting in the States, because they don't want you to know that their kingdom is coming to an end, that Esau's kingdom is coming to an end. They want to make you believe that things are all good, like they're still in control. But they're dwindling down. They're dwindling down. Even in the heathen nations are getting tired of you. And this is facts. Really quick, I wanted to stroll down and let you see some of these comments, because it just shows you how this nation feels about everyone, even about some of their own people, right? I'm trying to look for the one that this guy said, basically, you can't do anything about what they were basically saying, without us, your country is crap, or you guys don't know how to live. You need us. That pride, that. Hope I can find it really quick, because I know I don't want to scroll all through this. Shalakia. Somewhere in here. Might have been up more. Yeah, but a lot of these comments, right, are basically saying, that's not the one I wanted, are basically saying that, without us, you'd be nothing, right? A lot of them are talking about going to war, fighting, being a freedom fighter, or whatever. I can't find that one, Salakia, man. I wish I was a way to save it. Not that one. Salakia. I might have been up here. I'm gonna try one more time. Here goes one. This guy named Jim Winter. Small one. I hope South African government are assassinated by special forces soon. It's totally wrong. You can tell this guy's an Edomite, right? He's got that pride. Now he wants justice. Now it's falling down on him. It's falling down on their nation. She's not even there, Look at this guy. Whites just need to leave for Africans to fully understand that they cannot make it. Yeah, I think they cannot make it without them. The infrastructure will fail. The wells will dry up. The food will run out. The farmers are the ones who should be coming to America. Yeah, this is the pride of the Esau, and his people. Look at this. When the economy crumbles, the blacks realize they just killed off the people who keep them fed. I want to hear nothing about sending them aid, taking refuge. These are upset Edomites saying that you guys, basically they're saying that about every nation, not just about South Africans. They say that about every other nation because they feel that they're superior. Why do you think they call, themselves a class of people that doesn't exist? White people, right? The white privilege, that was made up. That was brought to, establish superiority. Okay, let's jump to these scriptures now, really quick. Really quick. Sorry, Salakia, guys. All right, Exodus 22, verse 12. I'm just going to pull out a few scriptures to match up what I'm saying, and then we can end it on there. And if it be stolen from him, this is Exodus 22, 12. And if it be stolen from him, he shall make restitution unto the owner thereof, right? I pulled that out because basically the land, that they coming into, which they don't belong in anyway, right? Esau can't stay home. He basically plants himself in other people's country, and stealing these other lands, claiming it theirs, putting that democracy over it. If it be stolen to him, he shall make restitution for the owner thereof. And basically, the people saying they want their land back, but they're standing and saying no. We belong here. It's our land. How is Africa? It's not even it's Hamite land. How is it the Edomites? Because of their history of going into lands and stealing their resources, putting to death their people, putting them into the captivity, right? Placing their laws. That's how they obtain these, they feel that they attain these countries. It's ridiculous. Obadiah 1:5. If thieves came to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Would they have not stolen till they had enough? If the grape gatherers came to thee, would he not leave some grapes? Exactly, right? So they're in a land that doesn't belong to them, right? They're placing their democracy. They're putting their laws in there. They're trying to reform it. They're building up, kind of putting into place their rules of government so that they can control it, right? Control the resources, control the minds of the people, until they have total control of it. Now, if these, other nations don't respond, don't react, pretty soon they're the ones that's going to be kicked out, right? And it says, would they not leave some grapes, right? Are they going to leave some land? I mean, right now, there's still people in the land, right? And there's still time to do things, to take, to take action and say, look, man, we know what's going on. We know who we are. We know who our people. This is our land. And you guys can't just come over here and start running stuff. Maybe they don't want that. So what if they, want to live in their country how they choose to live without Esau, running it? But Esau knows that, Africa has these resources. He knows that, these different countries, he needs to be insurged there so that, he can benefit from it, to fatten up, himself. This is a wicked, greedy nation of people who are not concerned for, anyone else but their own selves. And people are over there crying and saying, oh, this is not right. But yet 400 or 500 years of you doing that to all the other nations, it was okay. I could have just scrolled up. Slovakia. Obadiah 1:8. Shall I not in the last day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau? So he's saying that God's putting a spirit on these people, to get these people out of the land. He's saying, shall I not in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men of Edom? And these people that are in their land, he's putting a spirit on the South Africans to take back their land. He's moving their spirit to do that. The comings and going, all comings and goings are of the Lord. So the Lord wants to provoke a spirit or do something. He's going to place it. He's going to do it. His word is going to be carried out. And that's what's happening, on the other side of the earth. But that they're not showing that here because, they don't want to people to know what's really going on. The manipulation of their media, right? They're gonna put out what they feel that's gonna, keep the people under control. Shall I not in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom? He's getting rid of it. Because they don't belong there. They've been in there, been doing this ever since they came into power. Have not recompensed or paid any of their wrongdoings back. This is the last verse right here. Amos verse 1, chapter 1, verse 11. Thus said the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and kept his wrath forever. Now, this goes back to the story of Jacob and Esau. Jacob had Esau had a perpetual hate for him because he sold his birthright, and the Lord found no place for him, right? But that's how it's all set up. These things were set up, according to the way the Most High divined it to be. And it says, thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, I will not turn away punishment thereof, which means that, the prophecies that are being fulfilled, is going to happen. These nations are going to rise up against them. These wars are going to follow through. These people are getting fed up. These race wars and all types of things, are gonna come upon the nation of Babylon and across the other nations as well, but mainly in this nation, right? And God's prophesied that, all throughout Scripture. He's telling you, the beginning and the end. And did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. So that's basically saying, what Esau stems from, the Edomite so-called white man, is that they've always had a hatred. They've always had this hatred for the so-called blacks, the children of Israel, the Israelites, children of Jacob, right? Always had that. And this is just not even on a Jacob level. This is on a heathen level, because the Hamites are not a part of, are not the sons of the, Israel, not part of the 12 tribes. But it says in prophecy that even, you're the smallest of the heathen nations, that even they will rise up against you. Shalaki. Judgment, but I thought I had something there. Okay, so yeah, basically that's what that's saying here, and I wanted to bring that out, man, because, man, you see so much of this, how Esau operates, and when those roads get reversed, they start, wanting that compassion, that pity, but it's not going to happen. Thus says the Lord, that these things are going to come to it's going to come, are going to happen. And the punishment is going to come upon all the things that they did upon this earth. And he's going to get judged. And basically, that nation is going to get wiped away. More so towards the end, but, there's going to be a rise. There's going to be a rise of things happening, the judgment coming, slavery for these other heathen nations. And God's going to set things in order. So, with that, I wanted to say, Shalom, Israel. I hope that this was edifying for you. Definitely, keep growing in the spirit, for our 1/3 and hope and elect, that we be saved out of this destruction. When Yahweh Shai comes back, continue to, endure to the end, go hard in the truth, keep spreading the word, and do those things that our nation has to do, as it's required of the Lord. So with that, I say to the brothers and the apostles I was teaching in truth and sincerity, shalom to you. To our 1/3 Israelites, keeping these laws and commandments, shalom to you. And to the things going on in America that are bringing fulfilling prophecy, all praises. Shalom, Israel.